Well, while Isaac is setting the up, when we started, he's going to go first, ladies.
Ladies first.
So if you can come stand up here in front of everyone, ready to project the voice.
Nice and loud for the people in the back, please.
Motherhood. The gift of loving another. You know, I never really thought about what it would be like to have children of my own, or even what it would be like to be a mother. I know many people who constantly think about that, but it was only until recently that I saw why. In the past, I've always seen it as giving up my personal time for someone else. In a way it is, but I was always viewing it in a selfish direction. I never thought about what the real purpose behind it was. But now, every time I see a young child, I'm convinced. I don't think there are instructions on how to love a child. You love naturally when you realize they are the fruits that are produced from your life. I guess I didn't realize how important the relationship between mother and daughter and father and son. Only recently have I begun to think about how it will be one day when I have a family to share with someone else. I await to know the touch of my son, their love, what it means to hold one of your own. But I am not concerned with the flesh. Rather, I anticipate to see the light of their life revealed through pain. And I will know, once I see the life of my son, I will know why I am a mother. A gift. A couple years ago, I used to think that loving someone was giving gifts or making it known that you love them. Or even cliche sayings, I love you and you're the best, which can be meaningful under certain circumstances. But I think that there is a way that goes beyond words. Many times I catch myself loving humanistically. And then I remember the Son of God, the Almighty, the one who gave his life for us, forgives us, even though we have treated him so carelessly. That is the gift of loving another. Let's not treat that with forgetfulness, for that is love. I hope someday, when I'm a mother myself, I will be under the discipline of the Lord and lay down my life for my family. Care for others before yourself. Prefer your husband's preference over your own. Lately, I've begun to observe what it means to be a servant. I am now starting to see the simplicity behind it. To prefer others' preferences before your own is really not that hard. To serve someone you love should not be hard. This picture came to me when I was thinking about this. Your husband wants to grow a garden, but you know that if he grows a garden, you will have to work on it day and night. He ends up growing a garden anyways. The days pass by, and you continually watch him work relentlessly on it. You wonder why he would put so much time and effort into something so simple. Then one day, you walk out to the garden. You take a moment to smell the scents that arise from each plant. You are drawn in by the radiant sun and the coolness of the day. There is a great peace that fills your heart in this place. How did I end up here? Then you realize this isn't your first time. You've already been working on the garden for many, many years. And what a lovely place it is. Even though in the beginning you didn't want to. Before you even knew it, it had already begun. What I'm trying to say is, you start to love what the other one loves. There's something greater instead of serving your own will. We must learn to see the bigger picture. Give it time. You'll come to see the purpose in it. If you learn to put others before yourself. Be open-minded. When you're making a decision, do you ever come to others for help? Or do you always decide for your own benefit? If that is the case, then why is that? When I made a decision on my own in the past, it's never ended up how I thought it would. We tend to think we know what is best for ourselves. We never think outside of our bubble. After observing the many parents in our community, I've seen that they always come to decisions together, considered, and first and foremost, they come to the Father with it before anything. This kind of willing heart is something I strive to have. I think that as a mother, this is a crucial aspect. I mean, someday, I would like to come to my husband and say, let's learn to do things together. In the beginning, of course, there will be bumps. Life isn't going to be easy. And you won't get it right in the first try. But if you are willing to change, and know that you can't do anything on your own, then that relationship will be a beautiful and a fruitful one. Inspire the youth. A mother to many. Think of your outpouring, your actions, your words, and your heart. It is all shown to those who are closest to you. Wouldn't you be immaculately blessed if a child came to you in search of something, anything? Because they saw the overflow of your life and thought, wow, this one has given their life to something greater. How do I commit to that way? Would you disregard their coming to you? Or would you see the sun, hold them tightly and say, let me show you the way. Although they are not your own child, you should always treat them as if they were. Because in the house of the Lord, they are all sons. Always treat each other with the utmost care. This is how you show honor to someone. Connected to Christ. Being a mother is not a simple task. It is a divine appointment. There's no greater thing than to be a part of the family of God. The Lord gives us this opportunity as a mother to understand what it means to die to oneself and to see that our life is not our own. Each struggle will be overcome in time. And for us to grow our spiritual man, we must make mistakes and repent. And there is no greater purpose than this. We have a merciful Father, and only He can appoint such a task unto us to bear a son and raise them up. When we receive this gift, we mustn't keep it for ourselves. That is a child that the Lord has blessed you with. So we give that life to Him. This seems so easy to say. It's much harder to do. Motherhood seems to be quite a mystery to many. And I think that we don't need to have everything figured out. Because we are joined to our Father. So do not be afraid. He has us in the hollow of His hand. Blessed be His name. He is the Almighty God.
Thank you.
I love the way that you write. It's so beautiful, and I've been really blessed to see how you have grown in your writing. I don't know. It's crazy to think in my mind that you wrote this. Like, I would read this, like, I don't want to say for fun, but somewhat in that way. I really love Inspire the Youth. That stood out to me a lot, but I really appreciate the way your heart is. It really does reflect the way that you hold yourself, and your perspective is just very, I don't know really how to say it, but it is a real blessing to see what you're thinking and processing, and yeah, I love everything.
Thank you.
Towards the, and I think of that first paragraph, or section, block, whatever you call that, I shared the sentiment with you, and not necessarily being interested in being a parent, for various other reasons, but I appreciate that the thing that stood out to you, that was revealed to you, was a very similar thing for me. And you mention it briefly, but you say that love for a child comes naturally when you realize that they are fruits produced from your life. And that really stood out to me in writing. I think fatherhood and motherhood are connected in that light of it is the way that that we pass on something greater than ourselves. And I think you also very excellently touch on that it's less about biological children and more about what you impart. I mean, I think that very much with someone like Emmanuel, right, who had no biological children, but I think that each of us, you know, whether it be child or adult in this room, have had something imparted from him to us. And I think that that is the greatest and most powerful gift that the Lord gives us as humans and as creatures created in his image, is the ability to impart things generationally. And I think that that really opened my eyes personally as to the, I guess what makes being a parent so important. You know, actually it was very funny. My original biggest fear of being a parent was passing on the wrong things that I felt like I had such a propensity to repeat. And it's so funny that now I would say one of the most beautiful things about parenthood to me is that it really is enacting that greatest gift that the Lord gave us, which is the ability to pass on and create something that transcends our own life. I mean, it's the only way to contribute to something that does transcend your own life, even legacy of a person, you know, whatever that may be, or, you know, financial success or a house, whatever all of that is. I mean, most of it, you know, has like maybe 2 to 3 generations max before you are like completely forgotten out of the picture, right? When you spend your entire life trying to create a self-image that lasts, it's so pointless. But when your heart is not about passing yourself on or your legacy on or anything like that, but when you commit your life to something greater than yourself, and you impart that same way of life to the next generation, whether they be your biological children or not, that is something substantial. And I appreciate how that sentiment echoes in a lot of your different points.
Yeah, I saw that same thing where like the underlying message of the whole essay is like the opposite of self-focus. You don't talk about, well, you for almost the whole thing you don't even mention not being selfish or anything like that, but you focus on
the principle of focusing on others, if that makes sense. And that being an important trait of a mother.
What I appreciate him is the way that you view children. I mean, there was the way that you were viewing anyone concerned in the essay, but the way you were like speaking of young people, whether they like were yours or not, you're calling them sons, and obviously sonship is something that an individual matures into. But it's still proper, I think, to call a life, especially one that you as a parent are dedicating to or leading into that process of maturity, or that kind of life, as to refer to them as a son or an aspiring son. So the sense of ownership that a parent, kind of the least of, well, at least one of your lesser concerns, the beauty you see in another life, especially one that you are raising, that's come into your care, responsibility, stewardship, whatever you call it, is that they don't actually really belong to you. They're a member of a greater family that you're also a member of, and so you oversee and steward their lives unto that end. Not with this super idealized, perfect notion of what it means to be a good parent. So I appreciate that it's more of a pure view. Obviously not as it is with every one of us, not one that speaks from direct experience, but one that speaks from like anticipation and from a pretty solid outlook based off of your own spiritual growth and experience and hope, all towards the role of being a mother. So again, I guess to summarize, you're viewing the role of a mother as being part of a greater family, part of God's family. Those not being like two like exclusive or very distinct things, but you only interpret your role as an individual mother over individual lives only insofar as it's still part of God's family, God's order of relationships. So that's good. Others, and I gave us quite a bit here. The garden example was interesting to me. Like I didn't quite know what you were getting at for a good deal of it, and then I guess maybe I could still use some explanation on that example or that metaphor.
That's something I was going to mention too. I don't know if
I know, it was
understood.
a little confusing. I don't know, I was thinking about doing stuff for other people and not your own desire. Yeah, I think that when you're doing something, like I said, starting a garden.
Can you talk a little louder?
Sorry.
Thank you.
When you're starting a garden, you have to work on it a lot for the seeds to grow, right? So that takes up a lot of your time. Only certain people like enjoy that, I guess, putting so much time into something. And what I was trying to get at is, in the future, I want my desires to be the same as my partner. You know, I don't want to be like, I don't want to put so much time into what I enjoy doing, but rather put more time into what they're doing,
I see.
you know, instead of just doing whatever I want.
Mhm.
I know it was a weird example. I just thought of it.
Back
Yeah.
to what you. Oh, sorry. I
Go
was just gonna say I like the part where you were talking about learning to love something that somebody else loves, because it's one thing to like say that and be like, I like it just because you do, but it's another thing like when you said once you walk in that garden and you see the beauty that's come from it, then you do truly love what they love. I don't know, I'm not very good at explaining things, but if that makes sense, I thought that was really interesting, and I really liked how you wrapped it up there. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you didn't. I was gotta say something. I can't remember what it is.
I just like, I imagine making a meal for somebody that maybe you don't like, but you know that the other person likes it, so you make it for them anyways.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the person, Anthony. Making a meal for somebody you don't really like.
I thought you said we don't like that person.
I see what you mean though.
It was a silly example.
I appreciate it because I think that's a very real struggle for people that make that commitment, or I guess better called a covenant with another person. Is there are, I imagine, a lot of setting aside of personal interests, even if, say, you share a lot of like general interests with that person. It is when you have an interest, you devote time to that interest, right? That's kind of always the case, but you have less of that now because you're responsible for another person, then eventually other people as your family grows. So that for a young family, I think that can be a cause of like even a strain in relationships. Is like there's this pull in different directions where you feel like you've lost something you used to have as a single person, I guess. Honestly, I think that will be. I think we're walking in a place and getting into an even better place as a community, where something like that will be potentially a lot less of an issue because we're learning to do those sorts of things and view our lives in that way now, not just in say occupation and work responsibilities, but even in the way that we feel towards our own time and the way we're spending that time. As young people, we obviously have a lot more time to ourselves, but I think more and more of us are kind of our consciences are being awakened to the reality of time, and even our own time not really belonging to us, just in the same sense that our own lives don't belong to us. And so there's definitely an advantage to not living in a worldly way, as we're seeking not to. That will be, I think, a great blessing for having a family.
Something
Go ahead.
something me and Kim talked about was how you gain trust, and I think that was also the point I was trying to get at, is if you show, not just because you feel obligated to, but because you have a willing heart to show interest in something else that somebody is interested in, then that's a way you can gain trust with that person, because they know that you are genuinely like wanting to know their heart.
Yeah. And talking that back into the theme that kind of carries your essay, I would say the deepest interest is for the family of God. And so that's something I think that we have discussed in one of my dad's previous classes. But that is, it's kind of a necessity to share with a spouse or a partner, because it leads everything else that is sought after or pursued or engaged in for that family. And so it can never in any way be a point of difference or separation between the two people, obviously. And I think that will be less of a matter of, doing all the same things or even going to all the same meetings or anything of that sort, but it's a place that goes a lot deeper than that in a person. And I think most importantly, it's not something ultimately orchestrated by the two individuals and trying to see if all of those things align between themselves and then go from there, but it's something that God ordains. And that is actually what he's ordaining, is if that deepest interest work for each person, one to another, going forward in life, united, if that makes sense. But does anyone else have thoughts about this metaphor or the rest of the essay? We're not given a whole lot of time today, so I think we might read Elijah's next week. Yeah, we can end with that. I have a little bit of homework related to the text.
Text?
The Analects.
Oh.
Yeah. Obviously, those of you who are part of the Analects class will have a bit of a advantage in this, but I'm still going to have you read the introduction, several pages. I think the introduction in particular will feel a little advanced. He's going to go over some history, but that's why I actually want you to read it. I want you to have that context. This is something I want you guys to keep in mind going forward with this class, or at least this part of the class, is I highly encourage you to reach out to me about questions you have related to these things. You can reach out to other people too. I'm not saying only reach out to me, so my dad or your parents, whoever you think it would make the most sense, but I at least can say, speaking for myself, that I really anticipate and consider it a joy to respond to you, to talk with you about whatever it is that is inspired by some of the things that we'll read together. And I'm not going to say there's no such thing as, well, I won't say like a dumb question, because I don't want it to seem as if it's possible for me to ask a dumb question. It is. I'm kind of going in circles here, but I what I'm trying to say is be thoughtful about your question. If it's like a historical thing, then you can do some of your research. I'm actually encouraging you to research things too, like go deeper with stuff. But if it's not something that's particularly chat GPTable, then you can just text me about something. I'd be happy to talk with you about it. The other thing I want you to read is on the very other side of the book. And that is, it's the section called Appendix 1, Glossary of Terms. That is also several pages. And in this section, you're going to be given Chinese words and their translation that are relevant to this book. You're not going to be like learning Chinese necessarily. These are outstanding words used by Confucius and his disciples that carry a lot of meaning. So he has an entire section dedicated to giving you some context and description of what is really carried by these words when they're used. Like, for instance, goodness is one. Like, goodness is just goodness to us. Like, it's just something, it's the quality of being good. Like, what else does that have to mean? But in the Analects, that means a lot more. Understanding is another big one. That to us kind of seemed like to be this intellectual thing that has to do with knowledge, right? Understanding in the Analects, is speaking of something heavily associated with relationships between people. So it's a very profound kind of sympathy. He will explain all of these things. It's kind of cool to know the Chinese word for it. So like understanding is shu. Goodness is hui or something. But that's kind of less important stuff. But I think because we're reading Elijah's essay next week, the due date for having all of this read, assuming that you're all being diligent students and maybe doing some further exploration of things on your own time, I'll have it due not this Monday, but the next. So that's when all of this should be read, the introduction and Appendix 1 glossary of terms. Are there any questions? I will give you a bit of a sneak peek into some writing assignment, or will probably be a recurring writing assignment. You'll see when you open up to any page that you're given the Analect. Okay, so this is 1123, and this is the written. The larger text here is the recorded saying. Okay, so this has been around for however many thousand years. The block of text under that is the what is called a comment, or it's a writing from a commentator. So in this case, it's Edward Slingerland. He does a lot of selected commentary. So he'll write his own stuff, and he'll also take snippets from people who have commented on the same Analect over the last however many hundreds of years. So he's trying to give you as much description and meaning and context to the Analect as he can. I'm hoping that we will be able to do the same with specific sayings, Analects that I will pick out. Now that's something. I mean, let me just show you another example. I've been doing that for a little while now, but obviously these are not very long. These are just kind of like short collections of thoughts about each Analect that I go over. I encourage you, it's not an assignment, but I encourage you to start doing the same thing. Whenever you look at an Analect, that's how you. I think the only other way better than discussing it with other people, which I believe to be the best way to go over an Analect, is to write out your own commentary on it. Not in like this scholarly way, like here were all the historical instances that surrounded this particular saying and this event in Confucius' life, but like just offer your initial impressions about it. They can even seem slightly unrelated, but they were inspired by the Analect in some way. this is a way to practice deeper thinking about a topic or a subject. Nobody's holding me back from beginning to read the first book in the Analect. Just has I think somewhere around 20 sayings in it. It's one of the best books in the collection. So that's another encouragement is start to go through that a little bit. You don't have to, I mean, you could even do some Justin encourages to do some skimming on books that we have a first experience with. I encourage you to do the same thing. Just start to explore it a little bit. And again, I'll say if you have questions about stuff, please let me know. But that is it. I'm excited to get into it with you guys. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.